Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. So let's get to it. What's this live? People watching the live or the replay, feel free to interact, engage. This one is called Healing Modalities or Shadow Work. So if you have heard of the terms, feel free to share down below in the live or in the replay in the comments what has worked for you. Feel free to share your tips, the best lessons you got, and maybe it might help me or someone else as well. So let's get to this live. I'm going to share with you very quickly my screen. So this one, I'm going to share a window with you, and it's the backstory of why this live came in the first place. So this one, I got a recent comment on my last live, my last video, which was preparing for my death. So I'll just read it right here, over here. What are the modalities you use to heal yourself or how you do shadow work to release past self? Please do make a video on that. Thank you. So this one is from Smita M. Gupta. Thank you for that comment. Again, we're comments all over the world. I was exposed to that in my seminars. So I love it. Thank you. And let's get to the video again. So let me stop sharing back here. So this one I'll just share through, again, just flowing storytelling based on my personal experience. And I'd love it if you could share as well in the comments below, or if you want to make a video, tag me. I'm here to learn from you guys as well. So to answer that comment, that recent comment from Smita is, what are the modalities I use to heal myself, and then how do I do shadow work? That's why it's here in the title. And this one, the comment says to release your past self, and I believe that's part of it. And later on, you'll see another part to it as well. So just chronologically, top of mind, I did do a quick check on my life events. Again, I could be OC, but I'm not the most organized archiver of my life or documentation. So just top of mind, in 2015, this is relating to healing modalities and shadow work in particular. So before I proceed to that, in that first 2015 event, shadow work, I'll just clarify what that means. Shadow work, all that means is there's this side in psychology, they call it the shadow. So I believe it's Carl Jung, or there are psychologists who define it. So the shadow is the part that we usually do not look at. It's it's the side, for some it's scary, it's dark. For others, it could actually, in my case, so people think it's dark, scary, evil, like that. In my case, I grew up very serious, and my shadow was actually learning how to have fun. So your shadow could be a part of yourself that you disowned, that you deny, you repress, you suppress down, or it's just a part of you that you're not aware of. So that's a quick crash course on the shadow and shadow work. So shadow work is actually doing the inner work to discover, to have that awareness, to heal the parts within us, and then to become whole, right? Or to be able to face it and handle it. So chronologically, healing modalities is just top of mind, top of heart. 2015, I wrote a letter to my parents. So let's see if I could do a quick share over here, but I will be sharing a quick backstory on this. So 2015, the very first one I could share is I wrote this letter in a singles encounter retreat. So this is 2015. And then people might wonder, why would you consider this shadow work? So the backstory of this was on towards the last day. They make you write this letter to your parents, and I'll see if I could zoom it a bit here. You could always just pause it, take a screenshot or something like that. So Here you go. So I wrote this letter, and the gist of it is I explained this side, what I was going through. So in 2014, I was going through this 9 year relationship. It was a bad breakup. Back then, I didn't know what depression, anxiety, mental health, emotional health was. So I opened that up to my parents. I also uh, shared that I was in a very dark place, and it was a really low moment in my life wherein I had like a Jesus moment there. If you just read the letter, and then yeah, it was so low. Like if you're watching this video on a table, I felt like I was on the floor, like just a little lower. Like if I died, I would actually feel lighter. So I admitted my vices. So the most notable one was sex. So the thing here is, quick context. I grew up in a very religious Roman Catholic, uh, Opus Dei, so it's even more hardcore background. And like if you commit a mortal sin, you're gonna premarital sex, you're gonna go to hell. You're gonna burn in hell. So I grew up in that background, heavy indoctrination. And then what else did I write here? Procrastination, my other imperfections, over sleeping, my temper, especially with my mom, my family, and difficulty dealing with my own brother. So this is in contrast to my dad, who was super hardworking, you know. And then I think one of the last things I wrote here was I didn't open up to my parents because I felt like if I did, they would disown me. So this was a really hard thing to write. And the crazy thing about this letter was, in that last day they surprise us by, in that singles encounter retreat, your parents pop up and they pick you up on the last day. So I had a choice whether to give this letter to them or to just keep it, because you're not forced to show it to them. So the hardest part was actually showing it to my parents. Uh, Posting this, on my social media at the risk of losing all my friends or like social suicide. That was the easy part actually. And then some of you might have spotted it, but it took me 10 years to finally get my closure on that. So back to here, let me stop the sharing. So the first example I shared with you guys is letter to my parents. That was in 2015 for that singles encounter retreat. The next healing modality or shadow work I would share, just as a response to that comment, right, was 2016. And this was the first time I really talked to my dad. And people might ask, why is that shadow work? So, all my life growing up, I, again, I was born in 1987. So, 2016, I think I was 29 years old that time. But all my life, when I was a kid, going in school, when I started working, my conversations with my dad would normally be, "Hey buddy, how's school? Like, hey buddy, how's work? Yeah, work. Yeah, work, work, work." That's all. Like to that depth and extent. So I never really knew my dad. What was more heartbreaking was when I started working as a life insurance agent in 2014. I started learning more about my dad, and one of the clients I met said this short story, anecdote, that my dad helped him that time, like he was the mentor, and they did some legendary epic shit, like in the banking industry. And this client said, "Martin, your dad will never tell you that, because if he did, you wouldn't even believe him." So a part of me was like, wow, I finally got to know this. And the other part of me was kind of heartbroken because I understood what he meant. So it's like if your dad won the Medal of Honor in war, he wouldn't just be going around telling everyone about it. Well, it depends what kind of dad you have, right? But I understood that. I totally understood what this person meant, and that too. If you grow up with a dad or a father of few words, right? So the first time I really talked to my dad, I think this was June 22, 2016. So this was before I was even made in my work, because end of 2016 was when I had a big achievement, my first $1 million round table in the life insurance industry. So this is just halfway through the year. I was a nobody at that time. So it really hit me this timing, because yeah, I'll never forget that moment. We don't talk much, but it was like after dinner, we walked to a shrine, a grotto nearby. So that's like there's a statue of Mother Mary, and you could pray there. So my dad said a prayer, and then there was a moment when before we walked back, I said just a few lines. I said, "Dad, you could give me 1 million, but very quickly it will go away." And this is the hardest part for me. I said, because I never learned how to earn it. So it was like a son to a father admitting that, "Dad, I don't know how," right? In Tagalog, it's hindi ako marunong. It's like I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do what you do, right? And then he just responded with 2 words. And then I didn't understand it back then, and I really hope to understand it one day. He said, "Be patient." And my response internally was, "Be patient. But what should I do now?" I didn't say that to him, of course, but one day I hope I get it. So that short conversation, I would consider that shadow work, because it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. And it was a side I never really faced. Up to now, if you're asking, like, "Oh, so are you and your dad okay?" Hell no. Like, that's why I value that moment so much. 2016. I had to look that up in my life events. Almost forgot when it was, but it was very healing for me, because it was one of those moments that if I died the morning after, I would have had so much more peace, like so much off my chest, lighter. Next one, 2019. My next healing mode, but sorry, my next healing modality, shadow work, that I would consider is 2019. I took this seminar, Mission to Millions. I was part of this whole my personal development journey. 2018 when it seriously started. So 2019, I took the seminar January, Mission to Millions in Johor, Malaysia, and it was about finding or discovering or just getting the clarity of what my mission or purpose in life is. So that one, this is why I'm doing this right now, Real Talk Lifeline. It I would consider this healing, because when you I learned this line. So it's like from my mentors, and I'll just say one that stands out. This is from The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. So one of my mentors quoted or like cited him. And the line is, "A man's purpose must always be above his woman." So what that means is, even for married people, I started to realize when you ask them, "What's your number one in your life?" It's not your husband, it's not your wife, it's not your kids, right? It's not your career or money, whatever, like that. Usually they would say something like God. And based on my background, I'm already saying that I'm not that religious, just from my quick backstory. I understood, I started to understand that there has to be a higher order, a higher purpose. Otherwise, we're going to be led astray, because I could be wrong, right? I'm fallible, I make mistakes, right? So I could be, your wife could be, right? Your best friend could be. your employer, your boss could be, right? So if there's one thing that's like your North Star, your guiding light, it's that higher, higher purpose. Call it God, call it like the universe. So that one was super helpful for me. It was actually a fun seminar though. So when I say shadow work, it's not all dark and deathly and like that. But that was a super helpful healing modality for me. Just finding my mission, my purpose in life. Next one, 2020, it was when I attended my first Tony Robbins seminar and seminars that year. So Unleash the Power Within and then Date with Destiny. If you want to do deeper shadow work, I recommend Date with Destiny. And if you can't afford it at the time, because it's not cheap, it's like around $5,000. You can look up I'm Not Your Guru. So it's like a mini documentary, and it's all about that Date with Destiny 6-day seminar of Tony Robbins. So why do I love it when it comes to shadow work? This is just from my personal experience and perspective. You're going to see and meet people who will be sharing their deepest, darkest, like parts of their life. I won't even say secret. So if you're listening to this live or the replay, and these are things that you normally wouldn't hear from people. Date with Destiny goes real deep, way deeper. Like people who have attempted suicide, people who, you know, um, they were in a cult, or like a woman who was raped, like that. So they went through it, and then they sold almost all their possessions just to attend that seminar. So it gets even deeper into the shadows. And why am I doing this? I learned that universally we're all connected. So sometimes you could learn just from one person sharing. Could be mine, it could be someone else, even in the comments or a response like that. So next, 2021, ayahuasca. So whatever your healing modality is. So just to like in layman's terms, right? Simplify, ayahuasca is plant medicine, but it's in the form of like a ceremony. It originated in the Amazon, like that. So whatever experience you go through, Kambo, like that, as long as it helps you heal. So why is that shadow work? Those examples, in my personal experience, it's like you're facing death. So an extreme way of like putting it, the other side is like you're drinking poison or you're poisoning your body. And for some it could feel like a facing death or a near death experience. For others, they have blissful, beautiful experiences. But nonetheless, that's why I consider it shadow work. It's usually something that calls to you. You have to do your research, deep research on it, know what you're getting into, prepare yourself, do the dieta, do the proper preparation for it so you don't have a bad trip. Or in extreme cases, you could even kill yourself because of like how your body reacts. And if you're in the wrong crowd, the wrong place, like that, with the wrong people. So again, it's something that I highly recommend you research first about it and then do it if it calls to you. So I did that 2021. And then just to kind of wrap it up towards the end, others I'll name that were key healing modalities or shadow work. I'll mention emotional healing, processing emotions, and this one I've done over the years. So locally also, like local seminars with, I'll name one, Coach Bam Santiago, who was recommended to me. So Isis, I gotta thank her when I started taking my seminars, my personal development journey in 2018. First time I met Coach Bam, 2019, I took his Unbounded seminar. So what is it? There was a lot of emotional processing, guided meditations or releases, forgiving your parents. Like you go through a guided process, and then it's just before that, like I felt like I needed even more emotional release, and then finally that one helped me. And I don't like overhyping or overstating things, but little did I know that would be a once in a lifetime experience, because Coach Bam passed away last year, and no one expected that one or saw that coming really. And he taught me so much, and that in itself was very healing. And yeah, what a better form of shadow work than that, right? It's like you're learning from life and death at the same time. So I'll end it on a light note. This topic of healing modalities, shadow work. I'll mention a recent event. So it's June 2024, and this movie, Inside Out 2, just started showing this month. And it's Pixar right now, like owned by Disney. So it came out, and the first Inside Out would came out like 2015, 9 years ago. I didn't realize it was that long. So it was about emotions. Inside Out 2 introduced even more emotions. So the original, I believe, had joy, anger, disgust, um, fear, and then sadness. And then this new one added, I think, four more, like anxiety, envy, ennui, or boredom, and then embarrassment. So why am I mentioning this one? I ended up watching it two times already, and I still cried like in similar parts. The message of the movie that I got was this, just to end on this note. It's the acceptance of all emotions, memories, and parts of ourself. So when I read that comment of heal yourself to release your past self, there is a part of release work. That's true. So I'm just ending on this note that it goes full circle. That the lesson I learned was you release it, I release it, but it's also accepting all parts of myself. So maybe some of you get it now why I'm sharing this way. So to end this live on healing modalities, shadow work, comment down below, guys. What are examples that have helped you? What are healing modalities, practices that help you heal? What are examples of shadow work that you've done? Like you've gone deep down in the dark side, the abyss, and you came out the other side because you were able to, you know, just face it and get to the other side a better person. So comment down below, like what are the ones that have worked for you, that have helped, and I'm curious to learn from you. It might help someone else as well. If you still feel stuck, some of you watching this and you need help, maybe one on one, it's you have a hard time opening up in public, comment deep dive down below. I'll just listen to you. Maybe you're going through something, you feel stuck, and you just want to reach out for help. I'll listen to you first. I'll just listen. If you want to take it to the next level, then I'll help you break through, move forward. Thank you. I love you. I will see you next time.